Thank you, Merav. Let's begin in Kenya, where 6 days after a building collapsed in the capital of Nairobi, rescue workers have found a woman alive in the rubble. A 6-story residential building in the Huruma district collapsed after heavy rains last Friday, killing 33 people. 88 people are still missing, but Kenyan Defence Forces managed to rescue the woman this morning with no visible injuries, just a few days after rescuing a baby girl found sleeping in a basin wrapped in a blanket. They say there is still hope of finding more survivors after rescuing 137 people since the collapse. Moving to Mozambique, where donor nations and institutions that contribute to the country's state budget have suspended their support over revelations of a $1.4 billion hidden debt. Today, Prime Minister Carlos Agostinho blamed the country's instability for the decision to hide the debt used to fund maritime security vessels and shipyards. The budget by a donor group that includes France, Britain, the EU and the World Bank contribute an estimated $265 million to Mozambique's state budget. Let's hear from the Portuguese president, who made the announcement of the suspension at a press conference in Maputo.
We've already started to talk, and not only to talk, but also to work in order to create the necessary conditions for the current difficulties to be overcome as soon as possible.
Now, 10 years ago, the ruling African National Congress in South Africa lost the city of Cape Town to the opposition. Now, as scandals continue to plague Jacob Zuma's presidency, another port city appears to be shifting its allegiance. This next report takes a look at Zuma's grip on the country ahead of looming elections.
South Africa's ruling African National Congress has governed Port Elizabeth since the fall of apartheid, as it does nearly every major city in the country. But just 4 months before local elections, the party of Nelson Mandela has little room for error here, as the opposition Democratic Alliance targets the ANC's increasingly tarnished reputation.
We're convinced that the ANC's track record of service delivery, poor government, massive allegations of corruption, expenditure on a public transport system, 2.5 billion rand, and that doesn't work. The buses have never been on the road, are all factors that will compound the ANC's declining support.
The ANC had always enjoyed a comfortable majority here, but in the last vote 5 years ago, the DA trailed by just 11 percentage points, and South Africa's 6th largest city is now considered up for grabs. With youth unemployment running at almost 50%, the opposition are hoping to tap into the seething discontent of the city's poor. Aware of the looming threat, it was here that the ruling party launched its election campaign 2 weeks ago. And although President Jacob Zuma has been dogged by corruption allegations and calls to step down, the party insists it will hold the city. Zuma's reputation took a severe beating after millions in public funds were used to upgrade his private home. A defeat for the ANC in the province of Nelson Mandela's birth would show just how far the party has fallen.
To lighter news now, but staying in Johannesburg, where Africa's first Miss Africa continent took place on Saturday. Ghanaian Rebecca Asamoah, a 24-year-old dental hygienist, was given the competition's first crown to beat 11 finalists from an original list of 40 contestants across the continent. But this pageant was different from most, getting rid of the swimsuit contest and replacing it with more traditional clothing. Let's hear a bit from the winner.
It's amazing because it's the first pageant of its kind, and you know, most of the times we don't really get the opportunity to come out to speak for ourselves as Africans. So being a Miss Ghana in Ghana, I felt, no, I need to be a part of this pageant. And so if you join hands with me, we can help build the African continent, and it's as simple as that.
It's as simple as that. Now let's finish with the final goodbye to rumba king Papa Wemba. Thousands of fans paid a tearful tribute last night to the flamboyant Congolese musician at a mass in Kinshasa in the DRC, Papa Wemba's birth and final resting place. I'll leave you with that tribute to Papa Wemba, whom many called the high priest of Congolese music.
Yeah.